Welcome back to Murder with the Missus. I'm Darren.
And I'm Amy. And today we're going to tell you about Jason Levesque.
Don't forget to smash that like button. Check out the description for the links of all of our podcast platforms, Cash App, and Buy Me a Coffee. Like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to tell your friends. Do not forget to tell your friends.
You need to just put that in the beginning intro.
Yeah.
Do not.
Do not.
All right.
Do not short your friends.
Don't. I mean, they deserve to know too.
Yeah. They should be able to enjoy this too.
Exactly.
All of this.
All of that.
All of this.
All of
Sorry.
All right.
If you're watching the video, you got to see the shake.
Oh, I didn't even get to see the shake. Oh, the moneymaker.
Yeah, it's the moneymaker.
Now, neighbors. Am I right? I've never been a fan of people living that close to me. I've not, and you know I am. I don't think I'm alone in that either because I rarely hear anyone say that their neighbor became their best friend. And I think, no. And I think the older I get, the worse it gets too.
Turn the lights off, hide.
Do not let them see you outside.
Get low.
Very low. The case that we're going to talk about today has been referred to as the bad blood shooting because it is between two neighbors who also never reached bestie status. So let's get into it. We're going all the way to Rochester, New Hampshire, and all the way back to April 4th of 2024, so a whole year ago. Rochester is having a snowstorm. Some 18 inches of snow has dropped. So this is one of those times where plowing and shoveling has to be done multiple times a day. Because like you shovel out your car out of the driveway that morning to go to work, but by the time you get home, your driveway's gone. It's gone again. So you have to do it.
You know, and that happens, that's the New Hampshire life.
Very true. Very true. The Google says that they average about 60 inches of snow a year.
Good God.
Yeah. So to them, this is not that big of a deal. They're still going to work. They're still hanging out.
Like this is mowing weather.
Exactly. Barbecue weather.
Yeah. That's what Canada says, but
Hey. So
I was like, this is golf weather.
Yeah, I bet they are. Just after 10 p.m. that night, a call comes into 911 because there's been a shooting. 41-year-old Jason Levesque has shot his neighbor, 37-year-old Kyle Violet, 6 times after an argument over plowing that snow. Luckily, there is a cop in the area with military training who arrives on the scene just a couple of minutes after the call goes out, and he immediately starts rendering aid. The first thing he sees when he looks at Kyle is that he has been shot in the face. They do what they can at the scene to get him ready for transport, and he is taken to Frisbee Hospital. He is admitted at 10:30, and he is still alive. He is anxious, pale, confused. His blood pressure is critically low, obviously, but alive. They have to paralyze him, sedate him, and put him on a ventilator. They're doing mass blood transfusions, and they have to put in a chest tube. He has 2 gunshot wounds to the left chest, one that is just below the clavicle and one under the left lateral chest wall. He has a shot to the lower abdomen, just inside of the hip bone, somewhat involving this left scrotum and penis, one to the jaw, and one to each buttock.
Not the nuts.
They got the nuts.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. He's had 2 units of blood within 10 minutes of getting there. And he was only there for 45 minutes because he was transported to Portsmouth at 11:15 to get him to a trauma surgeon for immediate surgery. Originally, the CT scan showed that he had no bowel injuries, but they realized that he definitely did. His bowel had been perforated. So he gets that fixed at Portsmouth, where they take out part of his intestine, lower bowel, the scrotum, and the left testicle. They also had to put in a second chest tube. He has bullet fragments everywhere. And he's got a pneumothorax, a hemothorax, so that's where there's blood and air outside of the lungs. And don't forget that he's been shot in the jaw. He had a mandibular fracture and pulmonary hemorrhaging. So your carotid is at your jaw, and it splits into 2 different arteries at that part. And his external artery, the one that goes to your face, had been cut in half. Portsmouth is a level 2 trauma center, so they were able to fix the bowel and things like that. But for that artery, they needed to have it repaired, and that required a vascular surgeon. So he then had to be medevaced to Boston for surgery on that because they are a level 1.
I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing he's still alive.
I know.
This is kind of crazy already.
Yes.
You just jumped right into it. And
I did.
And everything else.
I did. I'm like, right out the gate. Let's talk about it. Just
this
shock.
Dude's having a bad day.
This is a shitty day.
Poof.
Dozens of doctors had to work on him to keep him alive. He was in ICU for over a month, but one of the doctor's summaries in his file said, the injuries caused a high level of complex decision-making to assess, manipulate, and support treatment of vital system organ failure. Like the way the prosecutor described this is he was as close to death as you can get without having a funeral. Like he was knocking on the door. He is in a wheelchair now and still has a bullet in his neck, near his pelvis, and near his heart, according to him. Because remember, we've talked about that before. If they don't have to take it out or it's too dangerous to take it out, they will not. They will just leave it there.
Yeah, I mean, because it like shows on TV, where they, these TV shows where they take the time and they're picking every bullet out. Mm-hmm. And in real life or whatever, they don't have the time to do all that because they're trying to save your life.
Yes.
So they're doing what they have to.
Yeah.
And sometimes, some get saved or, get left behind.
They have to. Yeah.
And sometimes it's like in a position where if they pull it, it might be worse.
Exactly.
For you.
And so they just leave it in there and you got to hope for the rest of your life it doesn't come dislodged or something. That'd be my fear.
Yeah.
Is that I'd just be like on a roller coaster or something one day and all of a sudden that bullet would pop out of its spot. Anyways, he said he is in pain every day, that the bullets shattered when they entered his body, turning 6 shots into basically 11. And I know what you're thinking. What about Jason? Like, he did the shooting. What's he doing? So back at the scene, he actually waited for the cops outside of his house. He actually unloaded the gun into Kyle. So he just removed the clip so it was separate from the gun. He put his extra clip into his bag in the back seat, and he was very cooperative with the police. He wouldn't actually get arrested until 4 days later and was charged with attempted second-degree murder, second-degree assault, and reckless conduct. Now, he does claim self-defense, but there were 2 issues with that. 1, Kyle didn't have a weapon, so take that into account. And 2, all of the bullet holes that the doctor mentioned that I just mentioned to you came from behind.
So you're shot in the back.
He was shot in the back. The entries of the bullet holes came from behind him. And so what we were hearing about it in his chest, in his hip, those were the exit wounds.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So let's go to court and talk about how we got here. To give you an idea of the area, these houses are close. If you're on the video or if you're listening to the podcast, we've made this our case pick. So you can literally see Jason's house is on the left, Jason's house is on the right and Kyle's is on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're very close together and they are right on the road. There's no front yard. So like I say, if you look at them, they're literally separated by by Kyle Violet's driveway. And then there's like this little small patch of grass up against Jason's house. The front of Jason's house is front steps, sidewalk, street. There's literally no space. Now, Jason has lived here for 17 to 18 years at this point. He has a 19-year-old daughter, Kira, who lives there along with his parents, lived there as well at the time of the shooting. And his 5-year-old nephew was also in the house that night visiting. But Jason has been a single dad to Kira since she was in about 8th grade. He's the one taking her to practices and to all of her events. They are very close. About a year and a half before the shooting is when the Violets moved in next door. Now, this is Kyle and his partner of 22 years, Angela. They have a 17-year-old daughter, Kendra, and a younger son, which we don't mention his name because he's still a minor.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to. So when they moved from Farmington to Rochester, the kids didn't want to leave their school or their friends Kendra was about to go into her senior year. She really didn't want to have to spend 1 year getting to know a new school on top of trying to graduate and deal with all the senior year stuff. So they would stay with their grandparents in Farmington, and they would come to Rochester on the weekends and breaks to stay with their mom and dad. So with all the snow at this time, the kids were out of school. So they too were home the night of the shooting.
So both houses were full.
Both houses were full up.
Yeah.
You got people everywhere. And Jason works as a snow plower. So he drives he couldn't remember if it was a 2019 or 2021 Ford F550 turbo diesel with a 9.5-foot plow on the front and a box spreader for salt. He said that he found out at 6 p.m. the day before that he had to go in for a plowing shift at 10 p.m. Then he worked for a 24-hour shift with no breaks. Now, a lot of people have disputed this version because it's kind of against the law to work somebody 24 hours without a break or lunch or, some type of reprise, whatever, some type of break. You can't just work 24 hours straight. But he says he did. Now, on his way home, it's about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. He picked Kira up and gave her a ride home. So she was working at a pizza place. He stops and gets her so she can safely make it home. When they got to the house, they made a couple of rounds up and down the street in front of his house, so he still had Kira in the plow with him. And this, of course, as you plow, piles up snow, right, in some areas. It's pushing it off the road, but it's got to go somewhere. So it, is piling up on the side. So when Kyle looks out, he sees the snow is piling up at that telephone pole. So you can see that right at the corner of Jason's house is 2 telephone poles, or are 2 telephone poles. And so when he looks out, he sees that, and it's right next to his driveway. So he's getting a little pissed. The Violets would testify that they were waiting for one of Kendra's friends' fathers was going to come and plow their driveway for them so they could get out and go to work the next morning. But remember, it's 10 o'clock at night at this point, so it's getting late, and they figure that he just wasn't going to make it. So now in their mind, they're going to have to shovel all this snow by hand. So seeing Jason pile up more snow was like an oh hell no moment. And that's why Kyle went outside. He was like, this ain't going to work.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Right. So you can see him on the house surveillance camera putting his hoodie on as he leaves the house. So he's literally walking down the driveway, putting his hoodie on. He doesn't have anything else in his hands. Nothing is falling out of the hoodie. So keep that in mind. They made a whole point of that nothing was in his pockets because it would have fallen out, right? And before we get to the comments, yes, a fist can be a deadly weapon. So I'm just reiterating that it is not like he came out wielding a baseball bat or a screwdriver, which is what they mention a lot in trial. But he's obviously agitated. There's also a little back and forth as to whether or not they had issues about snow before this. Because Kira would tell the police in her original statement that the previous winter, Kyle had been using a snowblower and had blown some snow onto Jason's property. And Jason told him not to do that. And then, this is a quote from her statement. He, Kyle, bitched to my dad one day a couple of months ago, probably our first snowstorm, that he, Jason, was pushing snow onto his property. And my dad was like, let it go. Again, it's petty. It's snow. It's gonna melt. It's going to go away. So it sounds like they had already had a history about arguing over snow because that close together, like I said, it's got to go somewhere. And hold on to your butts because Jason's story is going to change about what happens next.
A suspect changes in story. I mean, that never happens.
That never happens.
Never.
Right? So even at the station that night, halfway through his version of events of what happened.
So which one got shot?
Kyle.
Oh, Kyle. So he was the one that was plowing.
No, Jason was plowing and
plowing.
Kyle was like, don't put your shit in my yard.
Oh, okay.
And that's when Jason pulled out his gun and shot him.
Okay.
Right? So they're saying Kyle came out of the house hot, just mad. And then, anyways, we'll talk about it. So like I said, halfway through his version of events with the cops at the station, they took a break, right? Because it takes a long time, hours and hours.
Yeah.
Well, the detectives come out of this interrogation room, and the other people that had been working this case had actually gotten a hold of some of the surveillance footage that shows pieces of what happened. So they're actually able to go out and see that Jason's story he's telling is not adding up with what they see on video, right? So they know he's not telling them the truth.
Yeah.
Jason's Plow is a big 4-wheel drive truck, but you have to manually change it into 4-wheel drive by getting out and turning the switch at the front wheels of the truck.
Manual. So it's a manual hub lock-in. So
it's what he said.
Okay.
Those words.
Yeah,
So
that's what mine is. Mine's an F-250, but it has the manual hubs on the front.
Okay.
So, and his is F-550. So, I mean, it's not a lot of difference. Just a little bit bigger truck.
Just a bigger truck.
Yep.
So he is leaning down at the front wheels doing that when Kyle comes out of the house. Now, keep in mind that this whole interaction happens in seconds. The prosecution would say 11 seconds is how long this took. That's wild. He says Kyle comes up yelling about the snow. He gets so close to Jason that his nose is pressing into Jason's cheek. His defense attorney would later describe this as face-to-face. No, it was more like face-on-face. But Jason says that Kyle tells him, if you leave that fucking snow in front of my fucking driveway again, I'll fucking kill you and your family.
Damn.
Yes. Yes. Now, I hate when people talk like that, when they take it that far. It just has always bothered me because I'm like, that's not something you say to people. And it's not that serious. It's snow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's snow. But
I mean, I can understand getting pissed or whatever, but not to the point of threatening and everything. Yeah. I mean, it's just like you said, it's snow.
It's snow.
It's just like, go out there and be like, hey, can you not cover my driveway?
Right.
Can you try to redirect it just past the driveway?
Right.
You know, I mean,
something.
I mean, hell, done else put it in front of the house.
Right. There's a whole front right there on that street. Yeah, you can see it on the picture.
But keep my driveway clear. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
That's not too much to ask, right there.
Because in a couple of days, it's going to be gone. Yeah. Now, not Kyle. Sorry.
But I'll watch some of these Plow videos and everything. Them dudes, they don't give a damn.
No, they don't.
I mean, they'll cover cars.
Yes.
They'll snow plow down through there, and I mean, they're covering people as they're going by.
Yeah.
They don't give a damn.
No, they're just trying to get the job done.
Yeah.
Now, Jason had just started carrying a gun with him when he plowed at night, because earlier that year, behind the Home Depot where they meet, park, get salt, they do their plow shit back there, some stranger had come brandishing a machete. So he started carrying his gun for protection when he was out. When Kyle allegedly said what he said, Jason said he pulled the gun out and it only made Kyle angrier.
Yeah.
He said, as soon as I saw that look in his eye, I knew I had to protect my family and I pulled the trigger. Now, he says he thinks that the first shot hit him.
How as soon as he saw that look in his eye.
The look in his eye.
Did he turn to run towards that guy's house?
We will get into that, yes. Because remember, his story changes as he realizes that the cops can see what actually happened. So we're going to have different versions. But this is what he's telling them that night.
Mm-hmm.
That he thinks that the first shot hit him. Thinks. Okay. He said that Kyle flinched, but he didn't know if it was because he was hit or if it was just a noise. He said he reacted to it. That was the best way he could describe it. He says Kyle turned and walked away, but then turned again and came back at him. So he had to shoot 5 more times.
So where did the first shot hit?
I thought that was very important too.
Oh,
the first shot was in the jaw.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, I call bullshit.
So he's like, I don't know if it hit him or not. You completely obliterated this man's jaw and you don't think you hit him? Like, I don't know. It could have flinched because of the sound. What? Anyways, I know shock is a powerful thing, but I'm finding it very hard to believe that he was shot in the jaw and barely flinched.
Yeah.
That might just be me.
I can't see that he gets shot in the jaw
Mhm.
and then turns around and comes back at him.
Bum rushes them. Yeah.
I could see him running away.
Yes. Yes. Not only that, but then they came at you, right? And you have to shoot them 5 more times. Like, there's no way. There's no way. But like I said, he's telling this story and then they take the breaks. The cop sees it on surveillance. And so they're able to, be like, you're wrong. So when they come back in, they know he's telling them bullshit. Now, the surveillance footage itself has not been released. It was shown to the jury in court. So they had like a TV, and the angle from the court TV cameras, you could see like a kind of side view of the TV, but there was also a glare. So it was really hard to make anything out, which is usually how it is. And they don't release everything these days, so I don't know if they'll ever release that footage. But this, to know what really happened, we're going to have to rely on the prosecutor's explanation of it. And so we're going to get into that. But right now, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, and then we'll get into the details.
All right. Just hang in with us, and we'll be right back.
BRB.
Did you hear what happened last night at the laundromat?
No, what?
Some clothespins held up a couple of shirts.
Oh, God. That's a good one. Now, when it's cold outside, do you like to pull out a pair of warm sweatpants straight from the dryer and put them on?
Yeah, it's nice and cozy.
Wouldn't you rather do that at home and not in a laundromat?
Oh, God.
If you live in an apartment and need a washer and dryer that only you can use, get a pin.
You can go to My Laundry Solutions, the #1 choice for washers and dryer rental.
They're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Springfield, Joplin, and Kansas City, Missouri, Sherman, Dallas, Houston, and Lubbock, Texas. Their newest location is in Fort Worth. They have more locations opening in Texas in 2025 and 2026. No credit check, free service, professional installation, and your account's available online, all for about $1 a day. Go to your leasing office, go to mylaundrysolutions.com, or call 800-535-4411.
Stop being taken to the cleaner and give them a call today. Give My Laundry Solutions a call today.
Just call and say hi.
Yep. And if you guys are interested in doing an ad on our podcast, just email us at
dna.truecrime@gmail.com.
and we can get back with you with what we do and how we do it.
Yeah.
And we can actually make the ad for you, and then we'll send you a audio of it and see if you like it and go from there. All right.
Professional.
We try to. So back to the story.
Okay. This is what was on the camera footage according to prosecution. Kyle confronts Jason. Kyle walks about 15 feet away and is gesturing to the snow and into the truck and back and forth. And he's pacing while he's doing this. Like, don't put your fucking snow from your fucking truck in my fucking driveway. Remember? That's how he said it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He takes 4 steps towards Jason. Jason steps away from the truck and toward Kyle, holding the gun up in a 2-hand stance. Kyle stops, then turns away. As he is turning, that is when Jason shoots him in the face, and Kyle falls to the ground. Now, see, he failed to mention that Kyle fell to the ground. Remember, he just came bum rushing back at him. Now, as he tries to crawl away, Jason advances on him, and then he fires 5 shots into Kyle from behind. The video footage is not able to pick up the conversation between the 2 men prior to that shooting, but you can clearly see the interaction according to them. You can hear the first shot on the audio. There's a 5-second pause, which is when he is advancing on Kyle while he's on Kyle while he's on the ground. And then you hear the next 5 shots in rapid succession.
Oh, yeah. So, self-defense.
Obviously self-defense.
I mean,
right?
he went at him Dirty Harry style.
Absolutely. 2-handed stance. So, Yep. Charlie's Angel style.
Yeah,
yep.
Charlie Angel.
Now, he told the cops, remember, that he could tell by the look in Kyle's eye that he was angry and that he looked like he was going to come back and fight him. So he pulled the gun out.
On the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
On the ground.
Yes.
Yeah, crawling away. He looked like he was coming back at him.
This is what he was saying before he shot the first time, right?
Whatever.
So the look in Kyle's eye, he knew he was going to be in trouble. So he pulled out the gun because he could tell it was a you or me situation. That's what he said. Kyle was coming at him in an aggressive way. And then he wasn't even fazed by that first bullet, so he had to fire 5 more into his lower body, and that finally slowed him down. He turned and started walking towards his house, holding his stomach. Now, when I say his, he was saying Kyle was walking towards Jason's house. And Jason didn't realize that the cops knew that he was making all this up. Like, they just let him keep talking. And the cops are sitting up there going, sure, buddy, sure.
Yeah.
So at trial, the defense points out that if Kyle had stayed on his own property, none of this would have ever happened. I mean, they came out in their opening statement saying Kyle had a heart full of hate, a brain that was bathed in rage, and a mouth that was spewing venom.
Spewing venom.
Yes. They called him a raging maniac and said that if you reasonably believe that someone is talking serious to you, that you get to react serious.
Do they have the stand your ground laws there?
I wondered that too, so I looked it up, and yes, they do. So NHRSA 6274 says a person may use force in self-defense if they are reasonably believing it is necessary to prevent imminent death or serious bodily harm to themselves or another person. Now, New Hampshire does not impose a duty to retreat if you are in a place where you are lawfully present.
So the issue is not that he shot him, it's that he shot him in the back. Right.
It said he shot him 6 times, and 5 of those were in the back.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much anywhere.
Yes.
I mean, you know, if we have an intruder in our house,
right,
I have pretty much full legal right to protect my house.
Yes.
But if he is retreating and running away,
right,
I cannot shoot him in the back
because he's no longer an imminent threat.
Exactly, because he is going away from me.
Yep.
So if I did that, then that puts me in the wrong.
Yep.
And, you know, it's just really freaking touchy.
It's really touchy.
And I mean, this dude right here, he was kind of, I think he's kind of in the wrong. I think he went just a little too far with this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and the guy just saying, I mean, even if the guy said that I will hurt you or whatever.
Right. And your family. Yeah.
And your family. I mean, unless he's actually walking towards his house, and even after he shot him and they seen him crawling towards that guy's house.
He wasn't crawling towards his house.
Oh, okay. I thought you said that.
Nope. He was actually crawling towards his own house. So if you look, this all happened by those telephone poles.
Yeah.
So when he turned, he was literally turning to go back to his house, but Jason took it as him turning to go into his house because his steps are literally right there.
So his lawyers or whatever was saying that he was trying to get into his house.
Yes, to hurt his parents.
So even if that was the case, he could have been disoriented.
I mean, he'd been shot in the jaw.
Not knowing where he was going, so he was just trying to get to a safe place.
Yes.
But,
yes.
I mean, they can't argue that.
This is why I wanted to cover this one, because it's so touchy on either side, because they are right. If Kyle had not come onto his property, he would not have felt the need to defend himself. But at the same time, this is not defending himself. This is literally shoot and kill.
Yeah, he should have called the cops.
He should have called the cops.
He should have called the cops, should have called the authorities and had them handle the situation.
Right.
And he could have put a protective order or whatever it's called.
All kinds of things. Yeah, protection orders. Yeah.
And then that guy couldn't have, and then if that guy came back into his area.
That's 100% a threat.
Threatening him again, then he has every right to fucking defend himself.
Right.
No matter what.
Right.
And still can't shoot him in the back.
No.
But he gets a little bit more of a pass, you know, he gets a little bit more lenience whenever that happens. Right now, it's just kind of like bad road rage.
Pretty much.
I mean.
Yeah, neighbor rage.
Yeah.
And you also have some witnesses, kind of, because the Violet's camera that caught the audio or that caught part of this video that they were playing, it doesn't show the full picture, of course, because it's on their front door, which is kind of towards the back of their house. So it shows mostly their driveway and then those telephone poles. So you don't see the interaction in front of the house very well. But there was audio from inside the house as well. So we'll talk about that. So when Kyle decided to go outside, Angela went to Kendra's room and told her that he was going to the neighbors to talk about plowing that snow. So the two women come downstairs, and that's when the audio picks them up. You hear Angela say, "Well, there he goes. I don't know. He's all the way up there. He better not do anything stupid. He better not do anything fucking dumb." And then you hear Kendra yell about there being a gun, and then he just shot him. And then you hear the pop, you hear her say, he just shot him, and then you hear the 5 more pops in quick succession. Now, Angela was asked on the stand who she was talking about when she said, he better not do anything stupid, to which she said she was talking about the neighbor, Jason. But I don't think anyone actually bought that. The general consensus is that she was talking about her hothead husband or her man, Kyle. Now, after the shots started going off, both women ran outside to Kyle. Now, Kendra ran back in to get towels to try to stop the bleeding, and Angela called 911. And then when Kendra did come back with the towels, she also called 911.
So they weren't worried about, getting shot too.
I guess not. They ran right out of that house.
Yeah.
And straight to him. And I probably do the same thing if it was one of you guys. You don't think of anything except helping the person that you love. And that's what they were doing. So they are witnesses to a point because their view was, like I said, they're in the house, which is kind of towards the back. So they only have a partial view and they couldn't hear the conversation. But remember that Jason's daughter, Kira, was in the plow truck with him.
Mm-hmm.
So both of their teenage daughters were technically witnesses to what went down that night. And that's fucking sad.
Yeah.
But the judge out of nowhere started giving instructions to the jury that sometimes testifying in court is stressful and people can request that they be allowed to have a comfort animal with them when they testify.
Oh my God. Is this the bunny?
I showed you.
Oh my gosh.
So basically he's telling them, don't let this comfort animal make you feel any different type of way about the witness or what they say. Basically, ignore it, right? Nothing to see here. But when this girl, Kira, this is Jason's daughter, the defendant, when she gets up on that stand and she pulls out that comfort bunny,
yeah,
bro.
Hey, and don't hate us on this. I would just, don't. I don't want to hear the comments on this one. Where you guys like, oh, it's a service animal, all this stuff.
It was a comfort animal,
Okay,
but
that's fine. But come on.
How am I supposed to ignore a bunny?
Yeah.
I would have been like, can I hold the bunny? And like, there's no way I could have ignored that bunny. And she set it on her lap and petted it the whole time. So the whole time she's testifying, I'm watching this bunny. Ugh. I'm sorry, that's just me too. I can't ignore a bunny. It's a bunny. And I love the bunny, but she should have probably also taken some ginkgo biloba. Is that what it's called? Because she suddenly had amnesia. The bunny did not help with that part.
Yeah.
Suddenly, even though this happened just a year ago.
Now which kid was this?
This is the shooter's kid, the one who was in
Jason.
the plow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She was in the plow when this happened. So, like I said, this was only a year after the shooting. So you would think that she'd remember a little more, but she didn't even remember what she told the cops the night of the shooting. And I can understand that. It's a traumatic event, right? She's the one who told the cops that there was at least 2 prior incidences where the men had argued about snow. Now she doesn't remember there being any prior incidences.
I wonder if she had this bunny before.
She did. She suffers from severe anxiety.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if this was like a tactic.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, I don't. Well, I don't know if her bringing it to court was a tactic, but she does have the bunny for legit reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, everything they asked her about, she didn't remember. So her whole testimony was basically them showing her transcript from what she had told the police that night. And it was so bad that they had to stop, excuse the jury, and then go through the process of asking her questions to make sure her testimony would even be admissible in court, because she was, I don't know, I don't remember that. I don't know, I don't remember that. So they asked her some questions to find out what she remembers, and she says she does remember talking to the cops. She just doesn't remember what else she told them. She does understand that this is a very serious situation, and that she believes that what she told the cops in her statement at that time was true. So this was like she said, a high anxiety moment, and she was in fight or flight mode at the time. So that's why she's kind of blocked things out since then.
Yeah, how old was she?
So she was 19 when the shooting happened, and she's now 20. So she's old enough. The prosecutor, they went ahead and let her testify because they could use her statement. Since she said, I do believe what I said in that statement is true, they were allowed to go ahead and use that statement basically as her testimony.
Yeah.
Now, the prosecutor asked her if her anxiety would cause her to lie, and she said no. So, okay.
Anxiety will cause you to look down and not be present.
All kinds of things. It can cause all kinds of things.
Yep.
So here's her version of events. Her best friend was in the house waiting for her that night. When they got home, they went up and down the road a couple of times in front of their house and pushed snow towards their steps, but not past them because there was those telephone poles there. You can see them in the picture. You see their steps and you see those poles. So she's like, we couldn't have pushed snow into his driveway or in front of his driveway because we would have hit those poles, right? But snow can go around it if you're pushed. Anyways. But then they stopped. So she thought that they were done. So she starts getting her stuff and getting ready to get out and go inside. But then she saw Kyle in front of the plow, and he was angry. She said he was rocking back and forth. So she got back in the plow because she was already starting to get out. She got back in the plow and shut the door. She looked up at the house to see if her friend was looking out the window at her, and she heard Kyle say that if he kept pushing the snow towards my house, I'm going to kill you and your family. So she says she heard him say that. He seemed angry, like he could throw a punch, but he didn't seem threatening, is what she said. She did somehow remember saying that part to the cops, though, so I'm not sure. I don't know. She never saw a weapon, and she never heard him say that he had anything. So she didn't hear him say, like, I'll stab you with this, or I'm going to do this with this weapon. Like, he never alluded to having anything. And she said she could see her dad's lips moving, but she didn't hear what he was saying back to Kyle. She said that she had actually blocked that out. Her dad got his gun out, and Kyle was in front of the plow walking backwards. In her mind, it was towards her house.
Same direction as his house, basically.
Basically, in the area that they're at.
Mm-hmm.
So unless he was making a lateral move, that would have been him going into their house. But if he just was walking backwards,
pulled the gun out and he was backing up.
She did say that. She said he was walking backwards. Yes.
He was trying to get away from the situation is what he's doing.
Right. So then she says she hears the shot, but she did not see Kyle walk away because she was on her phone. Right.
Okay. So she's seen everything else, but
the shot.
But she was on her phone.
She was on her phone. The state pulled out her statement again because she even drew the cops a map when they took her statement so that they could see what she was talking about. She also said that Kyle was running. And when asked why he would be running, she said, I assume it's because my dad pulled out his gun. I would run too. Yeah. She said he was running towards his house. So not towards her house, towards his own house. Now, when they ask her about that on the stand, she doesn't remember saying any of that.
Of course not.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, she was coached.
Now, after the shooting, Kendra and Angela ran out, right? So they're out there with Kyle. Jason moved the plow truck into his driveway to get it out of the way for emergency vehicles. She says, Kira, his daughter, says that he tried to call 911 on his phone, but before he could, the cops were already there because they responded in literally 2 minutes of them calling because somebody was in the area. They didn't talk to each other during this whole time, her and her dad.
Mm-hmm.
So out comes her statement again. And they're like, this is the conversation you told the police that you had with your dad while y'all were sitting in that plow. And she said, Jason asked her, what do I do? She said, what do you mean, what do you do? He said, do we run? And she said, no, we're staying put. He said, yeah, you're probably right. She said, I am right. You don't run. You sit there and you wait. I don't know. Now, he asked if he should call 911, and Kara told him, if you want, I don't know. Like, I literally just got out of work. Like, I'm exhausted. I don't know. This is your path.
So he thought about running. See, this is the whole thing. It's so contradictory. And
yes.
I mean, she's like going back and forth. I mean, on everything. It's just
everything.
Anyway.
This is why it's so hard to get convictions or, get somebody who didn't do something out of it, because there's so many conflicting stories. What do you believe? What do you take into heart? Now, he says, when Jason got on the stand, he said that him saying, should we run, was just an ill-timed joke. Okay. And he had to now have a better story, right? Because his story that he gave the cops doesn't match the footage, and now he knows it. And he's had a year to figure out a story that's going to match that video, right? So.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's just, but he thought about running. I mean, that's the whole deal.
He did think about running.
Yeah.
He was like, should we run? Now, once you've shot somebody in the face and they're literally leaving a blood smear in the snow trying to get away from you, you have to then describe to people why you chose to make those last 5 shots, right? Because there's no imminent threat. We've talked about that. So his story at trial was that Kyle didn't just threaten his family one time. He kept saying, you don't believe me? Again and again. So he took it seriously and shot the first shot from about 5 feet away from him. So now you're telling me you shot this man in the face from literally 5 feet in front of him, and he barely flinched. Okay. But then Jason says that he blanked out, like a TV going out and then back on.
Okay.
But he says that Kyle got up, so that means he now acknowledges Kyle was on the ground, and headed towards Jason's front steps. So that's why he kept firing. That he had family members inside the house that were in danger. They made it a big point that he was cooperative with the police. And I want to point this next part out because it happens.
Of course he's cooperative. He's trying to get freaking self-defense.
Exactly. He wasn't dumb, I guess.
Yeah.
So I want this next part. I wanted to point this out. It really doesn't have much to do with this, but I wanted to point it out because it happens all the time. So if you're listening and you're a cop, this is a teaching moment. When Jason got out of his truck, right? So he'd put his gun, he'd took the clips out and everything, and he had everything separated. And he got out of the truck, hands up, and he walked to the back of the truck. There was a male officer and a female officer back there. One was yelling, walk towards me. The other was yelling, get on the ground, right? So he had to tell him, I can only listen to one of you. Like, you're telling me 2 conflicting things, sending me in different directions. Yeah. So the female cop stopped yelling, and he was able to actually comply with the male cop's instructions and was taken into custody.
Yeah, they should have just played rock, paper, scissors to see who got to be leader.
Right? You can't both get out and start yelling stuff. Come on. And this is how people get hurt because...
Well, I mean, that's how they get hurt. That's how they get resisting. I mean, that's how they get all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of things.
I mean, and that's where, that's where people get put into the damn court system for stupid ass reasons and they can't get the fuck out of it.
That's a bunch of resisting arrest charges right there.
Yeah. Because you're not listening to one of the officers.
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck is he supposed to do? Just, what are they called in football?
Hail Mary?
Hail Marys or wherever they are, you got to jump up and down and fucking on the ground up there.
Oh, you're talking about like burpees or something?
Burpees, that's it. Burpees. So you're supposed to be doing a bunch of burpees while you're sitting there trying to figure out who the hell to listen to.
Down and up and down. Yeah. What do I do? I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah.
So defense really pushed the fear. They pushed the sleep deprivation and that this was all Kyle's fault. That if Kyle hadn't come over there, this never would have happened. And the state called this what Kyle had said as a conditional threat, something that people use every day. If you push snow over here, then I'll kill you and your family. So words matter. Someone who did not testify at trial was Kyle. Now, he was there, but in preparation, the state played the video surveillance for him, and he suffered a severe PTSD attack. So he knew he was not going to be able to testify, and he did not And some say,
No, because he knew he couldn't defend it.
no, I'm talking about the guy who got shot.
Oh.
The guy who did the shooting, he testified.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where we got the
okay, I got
turn
you.
towards my house.
I'm back.
Yeah. So this was a traumatic experience, regardless of who started it. And Kyle was not going to be able to get up on that stand and make it through it. So after the defense started their closing arguments, Jason's dad, the defendant's dad, had a medical event in the gallery. So they even had to stop the closing arguments and get him help. Now, he was okay, so they were able to continue. And on March 20th of 2025, so a couple weeks ago now, the jury was in deliberation. And during their lunch, they sent a note to the judge. They're like, hey, can we leave at 3 today? And the judge is like, sure. So they let him go. And they had to come back in the next day. So it just prolonged it one more day. I don't know if somebody had an appointment or what happened. But anyways, they resumed the next day. And it was literally no time. It took them not very long to come up with their verdict. So now I want to know what you think, Darren. So you've got attempted murder and assault on the plate. What do you think he got for attempted murder? Guilty or not guilty?
Well, I'm hoping he got guilty.
You're hoping guilty?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Because he shot him in the back as he was running away.
5 top crawling away.
As he's crawling away.
Yeah. Well, they found him not guilty.
Oh, you're fucking killing me with this shit.
They found him not guilty of attempted murder, but guilty of first-degree assault. So that is when you intentionally harm somebody, not an accident. It's not like I was doing something and this person got hurt because of what I was doing.
Look, he shot him.
He shot him.
Right in the jaw.
Yeah.
When he shot him in the back, it was the basically it's the law where it's, as long as there's nobody there, to sue you, it's one of them deals. Well, if you ain't there to fucking talk, if you ain't there to talk, there ain't nobody, if there's no witnesses, that type of deal. So he shot him the rest of the times in the back trying to finish it.
Yes.
And everything.
Yes.
So because basically he knew that whenever he shot those other times and everything, he knew that if he died, then there was no witness.
There was
to that.
Yeah, nobody to dispute his story.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Except they had that surveillance footage. Whoops. There was actually several angles.
And he could have angled it however he wanted, even with the surveillance footage.
That is true. That is true.
Because the other guy's not there to defend himself.
It's 10 o'clock at night. It's dark.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. But the only thing that screwed him here is that the guy lived.
He lived.
But it didn't screw him. Because he should have got attempted murder on there,
Well, what everybody is saying is that had Kyle been able to get up on that stand and tell his side of the story, he would have been found guilty. That's what everybody believes.
Yeah, but then again, it's like they let this girl up there on with her support bunny and everything.
Love that bunny.
And, and so he's having traumatic, he's having PTSD from it and everything else. Yeah. And now they're going to dock him for it.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, what can you do? But they didn't read his statement. They didn't admit his statement into it, which I guess that he'd have to be on the stand for them to do that. But golly.
No, they don't. I mean, they can be like, he's not going to testify, but we do have a written statement from him.
Well, the prosecution used his version of events as to what they did in their opening statements, and that's what they pushed the whole time. So
either way, it was not enough.
It was not enough. Yeah, it was not enough. And I will say that the first degree assault does carry up to a 15-year sentence. So it's not technically a light sentence, but
still not enough.
It's still not enough. And the attempted murder charge that he was being held on is what he was held without bond for. So he's been in jail since this shooting happened, like 4 days after, because they wouldn't set him a bond because of the attempted murder charge. Now that that's gone, he's been acquitted of that. Now his lawyer was like, okay, great. As soon as they said not guilty, he's like, we want a bond hearing because he needs to get out while he's waiting for sentencing. So that hearing,
like, no,
they said it. They have to. They have to.
Off.
So the hearing was on the 1-year anniversary of the shooting. So it was on.
He's a flight risk at this point.
You could say that.
I mean, the girl, they was talking about him.
Want to run?
Want to run?
Think we should run?
And everything. That's a flight risk.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm not done.
Okay.
So the hearing was on the 1-year anniversary of the shooting. So that would be April 4th of 2025. Now we're recording this in advance because we got the flu and didn't get to do an episode. So now we're doing a bulk of them.
Yeah.
So this was literally a couple of days ago. So he had his bond hearing and he was denied bond.
Good.
So he will stay in jail until he is sentenced on June 23rd. So I don't know what's going to come at the sentencing. Some people think that they're going to give him time served and let him walk, but
Well, we'll do an update on this one for sure.
we'll definitely be updating this one in June.
But it wasn't enough.
Right. Well, the defense attorney is saying that family man Jason is not a threat to society or his neighbor Kyle, because you got to think if he gets out on bond, he's going home to right next door to Kyle.
Yeah, and then this guy's got to sit there and look at him every day while he's running around in his wheelchair.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's just, really?
Yeah.
No.
Yep. Now, the judge felt like that was an incorrect statement, that he would be a detriment to the neighbor Kyle. So he went ahead and did that. Plus, I don't remember them saying this in court too much. Maybe I missed it, but Jason, the shooter, did have a former domestic violence conviction. So he was not even supposed to own a firearm.
Huh.
Yeah. So that's another reason the judge is like, no, I'm not letting you out. You've broken many laws.
And what are their laws in was it New Hampshire?
We're in New Hampshire. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what are their laws with carrying a firearm in a vehicle?
I don't know, because he wasn't supposed to have one at all.
Well, because some states will let you have them in your house, but they will not allow you to carry them in a vehicle.
Oh, well, in this case, it didn't matter because of his prior conviction. He wasn't allowed to have it anywhere, so they just went with that.
Yeah,
yeah. But that is interesting. I probably want to look that up when we get
I
done.
think in I think it's Chicago.
Illinois?
I think it's Chicago, or in Illinois or whatever. I think it's like, I mean, now I think it's different, but a long time ago. But it was you could have them for protection at your house, at your home, but you could not. You wouldn't, like, if you got caught with one in your car or whatever. It was a big deal. Offense. Yeah,
big deal. Yeah. So as you noticed, this is another one that had a very split public opinion. The state pointed out that their interaction, remember I said, was only 11 seconds. So now that you've heard all these versions of stories, and you know that there was a 5-second pause in between the first shot and the last 5 shots, that means there was 6 seconds that they actually interacted. So is that enough time for Kyle to threaten Jason's family 3 times? Like, according to him, he just kept repeating it over and over and over. And you have the right to protect your property, but you don't have the right to shoot somebody in the back. So that's another problem.
Yep.
And if he had called the cops himself, or stopped after the first shot, or maybe didn't change his story several times, then he may not have even been arrested to begin with. But because of all the issues that popped up, it's just one of those things. But we want to know what you think about this one, because it is so split. Be respectful, though, in the comments. Everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like we said, this is another one we're going to watch and update, because I couldn't wait to talk about this one. I have a very problem with being impatient, and I needed to get this one out.
And we get some comments on here and everything. It's like, oh, we already found whatever loopholes, or we found stuff wrong with your deal. And the whole thing is, we don't get everything in here.
Yeah, that's usually where they're, oh, you didn't talk about this. Well, I can't talk about everything.
We hit the main topics
and
everything. And that's what we try to do. We try to hit the main topics because we're trying to keep everything under.
We try.
Yeah, this one right here is going to run about an hour.
Sorry.
But
do your own research. We're here to tell you the story and give you the bullet points, basically. Talk it out. This is what's wrong with it. This is what we see as problems and things like that. But always do your own research.
Yeah.
Get in there and dig in like we do.
And if you guys have information that we can add on to the next story whenever we do the update, send it to us.
Those are other comments I love to see, is when people are like, what about this? And keep this in mind and blah, blah, blah. And they start like putting out other facts. And I'm
stuff that actually helps.
Yeah. And I'm like, sometimes it's stuff I don't know because it's gossip or rumors.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm not from the area. And I can't talk about that on the pod because, well, that's not a fact. I can't.
Exactly.
Anyways, if you do like our content, please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you get notified when a new episode drops. If you would like to support the channel, we do have Cash App at $MWTM pod.
And we also have Buy Me a Coffee at buymeacoffee.com/MWTM.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't forget to tell your friends.
Mm-hmm. Tell them.
If you guys like the podcast, share it with them.
Yeah, they probably will too.
And then go to our other channels and make sure they like, share, subscribe, and follow us. And we're just looking for subscribers. That's what we're looking for, the main. So
yeah, holla.
until next time, guys, we'll see you.
Bye.